Hello everybody and welcome to another time-lapse painting. Thank you so much for joining me. Here we're checking out Mama Bear and her cubs. As you can see, this is what it looks like when it's finished. Now this painting took me the longest out of any painting I've made so far. I think I spent about 30 hours. Maybe probably like 32 hours on this painting. And I have about 30 hours of footage. So things are gonna be moving fast. I condensed all that footage into 30 minutes of video. So this one might move faster than other ones I've made before. But here we go with the sketch. And for this painting, well, other than the big tree, the main like focal point tree, everything else I kind of just winged with my own head, like the stream. The other ones, and the idea from the tree I just got from just looking up trees overlapping water, and I found a bunch of pictures, and I found one that kind of similar to that one, not exactly like the one I made up, but similar enough that I was like, okay, I'm gonna have one that could really jut over the water, and that was it. Now here we are just adding in some of the background foliage. I was gonna actually have a path when I first started making this painting, so I was gonna have a little path, like I was thinking in line in terms of like national park path, thinking in terms of people hiking, and I was gonna have the bears on the other side, and I was gonna have another person on this side. But I decided to forget the person in the hiking and just go straight for the bears. I wanted them just to have the focal point all on their own and not have any human intervention. So that's what I went with. And now here we are adding some of the branches. These are the trees in the background, obviously. And I went with really brown, reddish brown for this one, mostly for the contrast. Looking back, if I could redo this again, I would be a little bit more natural with the color of trees. Usually trees aren't brown, but I saw these trees that were in Portugal that were just completely brown like this, and I thought to myself, that looks kind of cool, so I used that color scheme because the green is a cool color. And brown is a warm color, so they kind of contrast each other, so they create a little more pop for each other when they place next to each other. Also, the brown is reddish, and the red and green are complementary colors, so they create the most contrast in terms of color. So that's kind of the thinking behind the color scheme. And I just went about my day with my trusty fan brush, my favorite one I talk about all the time. It's getting up there in age now. Hairs are starting to get worn off. It's no longer completely a fan brush. The tips or the sharp edges on the side are kind of worn away, so it's kind of rounded out to like a really wide cat's tongue brush. I think that's what they're called. Anyway, here's me adding some of the rocks to the excuse me, the stream. At first I was gonna call this bear or a family of bears playing by the gurgling stream, but that wasn't a great title, so I changed it. Or bears playing by the gurgling stream, but the word gurgling just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sound great. So I just decided to call it Mama Bear playing with her cubs, or Mama Bear and her cubs playing. I thought it would be really hard to make these rocks when I was making them. I was like, I don't think they're gonna look like rocks. I don't know why I was so like concerned about it. I was really stressing out about it. I was like looking at how to paint rocks, looking at pictures of rocks. And then at one point after I looked at it enough, I was like, alright, I'm just gonna do it, and if it doesn't look good, I'll fix it. So But I didn't have to fix anything in the end. They looked exactly like I wanted them to. So that was nice. You saw me adding the little path earlier, which I will get rid of later. Because I didn't yet make the decision to only have bears in the painting yet. Still, at this point of the painting, I was still going to make them on the other side, but again, later they'll become the focal point, or the main characters in the painting. The focal point of this painting is actually this tree I'm working on right here, adding all the popping out branches. It's the focal point because it takes up the most space and it kind of covers the areas where fundamentally people's eyes go. The what's it called, 2/3 rule. But I'm using that tree to like kind of like start you kind of like where that branch is, to the left top, kind of start your eyes there, and then kind of pull you in with the stream into to the right down the trunk of the tree, and then you start seeing little cubs hanging out in the tree, and then as you follow the trunk, you get brought to the mom bear. So it's kind of like a little swirl of composition. Of course, there's other ways to enter the painting when you look at it. You know, some people might start with the fallen tree. That's one way to start, and then you can start from the fallen tree looking at it and then move towards the mom bear, which will be there a little bit, and move up the tree and around to the left. So you start from the bottom right, go towards the right, look up the trunk of the tree, and then be brought to the left and towards the sky. And now here is the part of the painting which took the longest. Good thing there's music and podcasts and audiobooks and all those things. I actually enjoy this part, to be honest, even though it's very monotonous and repetitive. I think I enjoyed it because I get to like decide where I put everything. It's only usually when I don't get to make the decision, or it doesn't feel like I'm deciding, it's more like I'm just repeating the same motion over and over again, that it's not as enjoyable. So, but once you get, but I gotta look at every single little leaf, kind of abstract leaf thing, put it on there and decide how I want to curl it, how I want to move it. And as you can notice, as I move along, I'll add different shades of color to the green paint I'm using. Just to, to add more character to the painting, more color, more variety. Later on, I'm going to make a very similar painting to this one, but I'm going to try to make it more fall color oriented. I do throw a little bit of red later on. I'm not sure if I actually recorded myself doing that. What I do is I just take a dab of red, mix it up with a lot of water, and I kind of just spritz it over, like kind of like little drops here and there, just to add a little bit of contrast. It's not even noticeable, I think, until you really look at it. But to me, it's noticeable. I guess sometimes you gotta walk away from your own painting to forget things so you can re-notice them. Here I go back, adding more different color of paint, and then I decided to jump right into the focal point, right into the tree. This is the kind of, for me, when I was making this painting, this in my head was where I would catch the eye of the viewer, was in this area. And like I said, I would bring the viewer's eyes around to the right, down, following the branches into the trunk of the tree, down the trunk, and then you'll see the little cups hanging on the trunk, and then towards the then down to the left, and you will see the mom bear playing with another little cub there. I didn't want it to be too obvious that they were there. I want it to be a little bit hidden, just so when you see it at first, it's not the first thing you see. I mean, what I wanted the cubs to be a little bit hidden. I didn't want them to be the first. I don't want them to be the first thing you see. Just because when I think of bears, I do a lot of hiking, and I do a lot of hiking in very backcountry areas where you have to bring bear spray and have to know how to handle bears if you ever run into them. I've done a lot of hiking, and luckily I've never run into them, mostly because I make a ridiculous amount of noise when I hike, so I kind of let them know I'm coming. to, if I ever do see them, I know that something's up because they should definitely know I'm there. If they know I'm there and they still won't like kind of avoid me, then might have a problem. So part of the inspiration was bears from or just yeah. And unfortunately, I never got to see. Fortunately and unfortunately, I never saw one while hiking, but I'd like to see one just at a very far distance. I've read many interesting stories where people get just blatantly unlucky. Like there was a park ranger who met a bear, used up his bear spray, and then had to meet 2 more bears along his path back to his headquarters or whatever. And that's one heck of a one heck of a story. Luckily he lived to tell about it, because usually bears won't mess with you if you just kind of avoid them, and they'll avoid you. Unless, you know, sometimes life just puts you in a situation where it's like you can't, if you move away, he might chase you. If you move forward, he might attack you. So anyway, that's the here and there. One funny story I read though, which was my favorite, although maybe not for many, was that there was a guy who luckily escaped the bear attack by accidentally. His arm went down the bear's, I don't know, he was probably like fighting off the bear, slapping him or pushing him away while he was on the ground, and one of his arms just kind of slid down the bear's throat and basically punched it or whatever, hit the back of the throat of the bear, and that made the bear choke so hard that it ran away. And I thought that was funny. So if you ever fight a bear, just jump right down its mouth. Don't do that. So I think it's funny that there are people in this world who have pet bears. That's it's very cool, but also, why would you risk your life every single moment of every single day? Like even with big dogs that are bigger than you or big enough to hurt you, like why? But anyway, here I go back into this foliage assembling foliage, adding the colors. I almost used the piping bag for this. I was going to, but the piping bag with the cake decorator, like the little squeeze tube, I was going to use that, but the problem with that is that I don't have as much control in terms of like the sharp edges I want on each kind of leaf thing. So I want these to look more, to have like 2 sharp pointy edges and be thicker in the middle to kind of give off the semblance of a leaf. With the piping bag, I usually just look like a circle or like a blob. It wasn't as intuitive. What's the word I'm thinking here? It wasn't as dynamic, I should say, like in terms of like, see how if you look at each thing I put down, each like leaf kind of abstraction, it has like a curl, a swirl to it, and I just don't have now the control I want with that. In certain situations that probably would work. Maybe if I would have made a bigger painting, it would be better. This is just 24 by 18 inches. So not exactly the biggest painting. It's it's probably like the average size a painting is in terms of the art world. I would make much bigger paintings, but right now in my career, what sells best for me has been this size or a little bit smaller. And then once you get bigger, I have to charge way more because it just takes more time. Usually, I have people commission me if they want bigger things, bigger paintings, which has happened. And luckily, it has happened many times. And usually, if people commission me, I use way better. I use like the best canvas and wood. Like I did the canvas on this I use is very good. Don't get me wrong. But I buy it in bulk, so it's cheaper. Luckily. Yeah, when buying materials, I have to like balance out. I shouldn't say balance out, but have to buy things in bulk just because it saves so much more money. Usually stretched canvas is a little bit more expensive, but if you buy it in bulk, it kind of runs in the same price as if you were to stretch it yourself and buy just a roll. But I have a ridiculously high quality roll that I use for commissions. I spent like way too much money on it. I forgot how much it was. I think I spent like $700 on not that much. It's like very thick. But I also charge more too when I use that roll, especially for commissions. This cotton canvas is probably like top tier. Not the highest tier, because the highest tier is almost too much money for what you get. But I feel like this, what I pay for this and what I get, is just at the right price point, right quality. So I really like it. Yeah, as you can see, I do I feel like I'm a professional. Put down these like crescent things, brush strokes, these abstract leaves. And like I said, usually this really isn't fun to do, but for me this is. I don't know why making these like repetitive strokes is more. I guess like I said, it was probably because I get to put them in all sorts of positions and curls and whatnot. I also was gonna cut a large chunk of this out just so you don't have to watch the repetitiveness, but I feel like for this painting I want, if anybody's interested, obviously, but I wanted to see how much of like just how much repetition there is in painting sometimes. A lot of it is no different than just practicing fundamentals in sport, any sport. I don't know if this is kind of just like if you're playing basketball, you just sit in one spot and just take 1,000 shots, then move 2 feet over, take 1,000 shots from that spot, move 2 feet over, just keep on repeating the same thing over and over again. And, well, most of art is just the way too. A lot of people think that you need to have talent, but you need anything is made better by just being born talented. I was just lucky in life that I started doing art things very early. My dad was a graphic designer, and so I watched him do stuff and kind of got into art because of him and drawing. I wasn't really. I think I listened to too many people talking about how you can't make money in art, because I wish I would have. I only started becoming really into, or getting into the idea that I can make a lot of money with art, or a lot of money, just to make a living. It wasn't until I was in my mid-20s. So you know, if I had the same kind of mentality back when I was 13, 14, 15, you know, even younger, if I knew that I could, if I believed that, that's like I would have been 10 years ahead. But maybe it was for the best, you know, maybe I wouldn't be as good as I am now. Who knows what could have happened, so. I'm very grateful that I've become as good as I am at art, and also really grateful that I'm able to be as creative as I am. You know, sometimes you surprise yourself, and that's the one thing that I'm really happy about the way I paint, is I surprise myself into this kind of painting style. It if I ever do become a professional teacher or a professor for art, I think one thing I'm going to tell my students is you got to learn to incorporate experimenting into your painting. Because all my paintings are, I'm always trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, trying different things, and also take a risk in every painting I make to actually try something I've not done before. Because there are times where you become very comfortable and then you're kind of just becoming like a printer more than a artist, because you're just repeating the same thing over and over again. It's at that point you're not really creating art, you're creating a product. So it's really important to keep on growing and challenging yourself and try new things so you can tap into those wavelengths that exist out there that you've never known before. So, I think most painting needs to be about between like 80 to 90% what you know, and then 20 to 10% what you don't. And sometimes it has to be just what you know 100%, because maybe you need to make money. And then sometimes if you have money and you want to reinvent yourself, you just go 50-50, or maybe even 10% what you know and try to do what other people have done, and then just all sorts of combinations. Maybe even try different subjects, different styles, even go from realism to abstraction to just try to make as many mistakes as you can and see what happens. Put faith in that what you think you're gonna get or what you want to get is gonna it's have the goal that I'm gonna discover something new, and then just do things. And then if you're worried about it, worry about it. If you're not worried about it, don't worry about it. It's okay. Those just have faith that all those things combine to get you where you've into this new idea or discovering this new thing. Anyway, so my ratio nowadays when I paint is usually 90-10. 90% what I know, 10% what I don't, or 10% experimenting. And it's working for me so far. I rather like how this came out. I really do. Definitely worth all the effort and time I put into this one. Funny thing is, we're not even done with all the repetitive parts. We still got about 5 more minutes of watching it. You're always welcome to skip through it, I mean, these videos are more of an advertisement and kind of, I don't really know if I have a specific goal in making these videos, but I don't see why not to make them. Why not record myself? It's not so time consuming. It's not exactly the hardest thing to do. So, and maybe by cataloging it and showing people what I do, they can do the same thing I can. I would love to see what other people can take, where they could take what I do, and then I can steal from them, or copy some of the things they do. So take my style, please. Figure something out with it. Do something cool. If you want to copy me, but do it and then try something new into it. Add something new to it. For the foliage in the bottom, I wanted to go for like a grassy, more like bushy grassiness, so I just got a piping bag going. Just trying to throw a little grass strains. This one funny thing I did was I applied for a cake decorator job, just so I could use the piping bag more, so I could get more experience with it. I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool, but nobody hired me. I thought that was funny. Oh well. I should probably try to apply again just for fun. Sometimes I want to try different things in the different workplaces just to get different experiences. Cause I'm in my studio like all day, every day, man. You know, like I sleep, eat, live in it. So, which I like a lot. I like being able to just get out of my bed, just get to it. Or sometimes I'll procrastinate for an hour or two, twiddle my thumbs a bit, and then eat breakfast and then get to it, and then stay up way too late. And then the next day I'll wake up way too late, work way too late, and the next day I'll wake up too early and be tired the whole day. But you know, it's always fun to go through different rhythms. Here I am with finally the cool part, the fun part, throwing the bears in there, the subject after all of this whole painting. Had to do this one in a couple layers. Had to just kind of get the shapes down. Later on I will perfect the 3D aspects of it, but just trying to get the shapes down mostly. This painting definitely took me a long time. I spent a long time just looking at videos of bears and pictures of bears, and just to kind of, how am I going to position them, what they're going to look like, how do they climb trees, what do they do in trees, do they play. So I had to do a bunch of sketching to figure out what they look like. Here I am. This is the one that's playing with the mother cub, or the cub playing with the mom. Like I said, at first I was gonna have in this area a dude just sitting there watching, kind of like because across the stream there's a bunch of bears. It's like the stream itself ain't gonna save you from a bear because it can climb and swim across anything. I've seen bears climb the side of a cliff like they were jogging, so don't think you can climb things to get away from them. They're surprisingly agile and fast for how big they are. Surprisingly, they're insanely fast and agile for how big they are. Luckily, they're mostly shy. Yeah, they're not. Actually, black bears, which are the smaller ones, are more dangerous than brown bears, which are more like grizzly bears. And then polar bears are the most dangerous because they will eat anything because there's not much food in the areas they live. So if it's food, they'll eat it. But anyway, here they are playing, climbing up in the trees, being all cute. And right there, I was working on the shy one, hanging in the branches. I wanted to have one that's kind of hard to find, which was hanging in the branches. And here I move forward to the stream, getting various ripples and the water going. Obviously, this part isn't too bad to do. It's just intuitive at this point. We've all seen streams, so I just, wherever I think there's gonna be a ripple, and after that's done, I just go into the translucent layers, just watering down some blue, getting in to slide into the cracks, and once it dries, the blue won't stay down as much, but at the moment I'm trying to get everything to stand back in the background and get only just one tree to pop the most. Like I said, it's the focal point of the painting, and I want it to lead into the bears. Like I said, I don't want it to be the main thing you see. Now I'm just adding some black to the bears because they're black bears. I gave them a little bit more detail as to their fur, so I can, And again, adding some a little bit more blue here, and then the layers in yellow. Yep, just green, more green. And the reason I add like more than one layer of this translucent layer is they kind of see through each other, and it gives the color more depth. It's kind of a trick that's been done for ages. Like even oil painters use these like translucent layers. They just use a lot more oil and less color to lighten areas or darken areas with that kind of technique. And here I am just adding, you know, what I'm thinking is little fruits or whatnot to the bushes. You know, because they're supposed to be kind of like raspberry bushes. And there you go. That's the end of that. Thank you for joining me. I've had a really good time making this one. Take care.